Hi everybody, it's Meg from Books Off the Beaten Path, and if I'm looking a little worse for the wear, I just woke up from an after-church nap, so sorry about that. But I was sleepy and I took a nap. So, still assuming it's Sunday afternoon. Okay, I am here to review this book, The Werewolf of Bamburg and Bamburg. I should know the title. Got this at Half Price Books, and it is a honker. It's a big book, but I tell you, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I was talking to my son about it earlier today. It takes place in the 1620s in the little town of Bamburg, Germany, and it's about a family of executioners. And these executioners, they're kind of like a little detective family too, these executioners. It's part of a series which I've never heard of called The Hangman's Daughter. The Hangman's Daughter Tale. A Hangman's Daughter Tale. So there's more than one. But this one was the one I read, and it was very, very good. It's not really about werewolves. It is, but it isn't. It's about faith. It's about folklore versus science. It's about coming into a more modern way of thinking. It's about revenge. It's about all sorts of stuff. So we have, let me give you the setup. So they go to this one family of executioners. They go to the town of Bamburg because the brother of the executioner, who is also an executioner, is going to get married. And he's kind of marrying up. He's sort of marrying out of his class. And there's a lot of talk. They keep reiterating in the book, the author keeps reiterating in the book, that you just do what your father did. So if your father was a blacksmith, you become a blacksmith. If your father was a leather maker, you become a leather maker. If your father was an executioner, you become an executioner. And I loved learning about the lives of these men and the women in the family too, because they weren't just executioners, I mean, they had other duties that they had to do. Like they had to clean out the moats. If there was a dead animal anywhere in the village premises, they would call the executioner, and the executioner would have to clean it up. But they knew a lot of healing arts, which made me feel better about that, because as you were being tortured, they could give you certain herbs and they could do certain things to make you pass out faster, to make it less painful, and everything like that. They were not portrayed in any way, shape, or form as cruel people. As a matter of fact, the brother who is getting married is very into animals, and he loves animals. And he is in charge of I believe it's the Prince Regent's over this little township, the Prince Regent's hunting dogs. So the Mastiffs and the German Shepherds and all this kind of stuff, and he loves those dogs and he cares for them and everything like that. So that was really interesting. The myth of the werewolf is really interesting because it's woven in with mass hysteria, what happens with mass hysteria. It's woven into the very ancient beliefs of their time and everything like that. And then we have these two doctors. So we have two doctors that are in there and they're kind of minor parts. I mean, they're major parts, but at times they're minor parts too, because there's so many characters in it. And you see everything from different points of view. And so the doctors are trying to figure out an illness that one of the clergy has, and the townsfolk says that he's a werewolf because he has this illness, and the doctors are like, no, wait a minute, we think this is just an illness, and they're kind of doing that. the players come to town. We have two sets of players come to town, these actors, and their lives are very interesting. And then one of the daughters of the executioner goes to become a player, and that's a big deal because women were not involved in plays at that time and everything. And it was just a really well written book. It was well written. I loved every part of it. I'm not going to give it a 5 stars though. I'm going to give it a 4 stars because I couldn't figure out who was doing the werewolfing stuff. I couldn't figure out who was doing these murders. And when it was finally revealed, it was a character I loved. And so I just couldn't give the 5 stars for that. But if you're interested at all with historical fiction and with a little bit of spookiness to it, it's not a lot of spookiness, with a little spookiness to it, and it's just layered. It's just layered with all sorts of interesting concepts and ideas and everything like that. I would recommend The Werewolf of Bamburg. So that's your afternoon book review. And I hope that you enjoy it. Oh, and I gotta show you what I got this afternoon after church. My mom bought me that. Isn't that wonderful? I've been hearing a lot about it. Daphne du Maurier. I've got so many books stacked up. Oh, I hope they let me read on hospice. I'm not going on hospice, I don't think, anytime soon. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I will check you later.